Welcome to another episode of Double J's List. When you get a chance, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Today I'm going to talk about the 2023 Volvo XC60, and we're going to talk about the 12 things that I really like about it and the 8 things that I don't like too much. So I'm going to start on the positives, and we'll go with the exterior styling. I really like how it looks, especially with the black package. This is just a really nice looking SUV. It's not overly styled, it's not understyled, it's got some nice curves here and there, it's got little wheel arches and bulges over the fenders. Great looking 5-seater SUV. Another thing that I really like about this on the exterior would be the headlights. These are some of the nicest headlights I've ever used. These LED headlights are extremely powerful. They turn when you turn the steering wheel when you're in the low beam mode, and also if you don't have the fog lights on, it turns on the fog light when you turn the wheel or turn the turn signal on in that specific direction, so you can see curbs and other hazards that could be on the ground. Very, very good lighting. They really rocked this. Now we're going to move on to the back of the car for the third thing that I like, which is this little square right here. This is the ski pass-through, so you can have 2 car seats set up on either side and still be able to open up and pass a long item through all the way to the front of the car. Let's say if you make a Home Depot run and you need a long board or something like that, or you're using skis as the name intends, you can still have passengers sit in those 2 outside seats and have a long item go up through the front of the car. It makes it really versatile, and you don't have to fold the seats down just for one skinny long item. Moving on, one more thing back here that I really like. Underneath here is a real spare tire. So many cars don't have spare tires anymore. This has one. That's so nice to see. You get a puncture and you bend a wheel or something like that you can't fix with the can of Fix-A-Flat that so many cars come with now. You can actually bolt a wheel on or have somebody bolt it on for you. This is fantastic. Thank you, Volvo, for including a real spare tire. We're going to move on to the interior now for the other items. Some of the items that I really like here on the interior is just the quality of everything. Every bit of leather is a really high grade of leather that feels very supple, very nice. Every switch always feels really nice, has a very nice click, almost fluid-like. These have a really nice click. Nothing inside this car feels cheap. They did a fantastic job on making this really, really nice. Along the lines of the quality of the inside is the seats. These seats, as you can see, I don't know if you can tell by looking at it, but they are incredibly comfortable. I could jump in this car and drive it across a continent and be extraordinarily comfortable. Wow, are these supportive in all the right places? They're not really awesome sports seats. They have a little bit of lateral support, but as far as being comfortable, they are awesome. Next up would be the Harmon Kardon stereo. So there's a base stereo that doesn't have a name. There's this Harmon Kardon stereo, and then there's the Bowers and Wilkins stereo, which is basically twice as powerful as this one. This is a pretty darn good sounding stereo. It's not the best sounding car stereo I've ever heard, but it's really pretty darn good though. I would be really happy with this, quite frankly, in my daily driving. I imagine the Bowers and Wilkins is fantastic, but this is still pretty darn good. Next thing I want to talk about is the interior lighting. You can't really tell right now because it's light out, but there is a ton of ambient light that just showers this interior. When you open it up and close it up, it's very, very nicely lit inside here. It gives a very nice upscale feel. That's part of the mid-level package that this one has, mid-level trim, I should say. Okay, another thing that I really like about this is the fact that when you floor it, it makes a really kind of cool, low, mechanical grumble sound. It was kind of reminiscent of like what my old Volvo 240 sounded like. It's very cool. It's a very nice sound. I really like it at full throttle. It sounds great. It has a good sound when it upshifts. Very cool. Okay, number 10 is the auto stop start is actually pretty good in this car. Most cars without the auto start stop, like you take your foot off the brake and then it takes a while before it starts up and you hit the gas. So at red lights is kind of challenging. I find myself in our Tiguan basically trying to time it out, so I see the other light turning, yellow going the opposite direction, I'll take my foot off the brake, so that gets the engine started, so that way when our light turns green I can just go and it doesn't have a weird hesitation. This car has a whole heck of a lot less than that. Volvo seemed to figure out how to make that react a lot quicker, and it's actually much nicer than pretty much every other start-stop system I've experienced in other cars. Number 11 is this thing is very, very quiet on the inside. Lots of sound insulation. They pick the right tires, they don't make a lot of noise. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And number 12, the final thing that I think is great about this car is the fact that it's a Volvo. So this is a luxury upscale vehicle. It's not cheap. However, it doesn't have the same stigma that goes with it like a BMW or a Mercedes or even a Lexus. It's just a Volvo. You roll up somewhere in it, yeah, you probably spend a lot of money on it, but people don't even think of it that way. People think, oh, that person's just a little bit different, interesting, whatever. They bought a Volvo. That to me is a plus. Maybe some people want to be noticed, and that's why they buy a BMW or a Mercedes. They say, hey, look how much money I have, whatever that is. I don't know. That has a whole heck of a lot less than this. It's not like pulling up to a place in a Chevy or a Toyota, but it's still, it doesn't grab attention the way that those other car brands can. All right, now we're going to move on to the bad things. So these are the 8 things that I don't like or might even hate about this car. Number 1 is the Google Infotainment. Maybe it's because I'm an Apple person and I don't really understand it all that well. I just found it not to be very intuitive. It's a little bit harder to work than other ones. Okay, like does this scroll? No, it doesn't. Okay, let's hit this button. Why did that? Okay, I'm not familiar with any of this, and I don't find it that intuitive. And what does this do? If I swipe that, that's the Google Map. Yeah, see, I don't understand it. Again, maybe if you are an Android person, this makes more sense to you, but it's not for me, and I don't like it. Another problem I have with this is the lack of HVAC buttons. Really, the only thing that's a hard button is the front defrost and rear defrost. If I want to change anything else, including temperature or anything like that, I have to press somewhere here in the climate, and then it brings it up into a big screen. I really wish at the very least that there were temperature controls here so I could turn up and down the temperature without having to go into a screen. That's really distracting. I find that hard to do, especially with Volvo. That you think that they're so focused on safety. I remember back in the day, my old Volvo 240, everything was a button, and everything was a huge button meant to be operated with big, thick winter gloves on because it's cold in Sweden. That seemed to make a whole lot of sense. They've gotten away from that with this touch screen. It is what it is. Next is the lack of wireless Apple CarPlay. Now, before I really ding this hard on this, apparently there's some sort of update that you can do with the software at a dealership that will give you wireless CarPlay. Apparently this car has the capability to do it. It just doesn't have the software to do it, but now you can get that done. It seems really strange that for a 2023 model, they weren't able just to install this as it came out of the factory that way. But yeah, really strange choice. Number 4 would be the small center console. With this huge tunnel that sticks up here in the center, you think, oh, when I open this up, this is going to be a cavern. And that's kind of small. I really wish there was a little more room. It doesn't go all the way down. You really can't put too much into it. I think part of the problem is this area for the cup holders in this little spot took up a lot of room. So it's kind of small. A lot of cars have much, much bigger spots to put things, and I know that it's very handy to have that space at times. Number 5 would be the auto high beams. So here is the headlight switch, okay, and it's right here on the stock. This is an auto mode. However, if you wanted to operate the high beams automatically using that system, every time you start the car, you have to turn it up like that. And now it will be fully automatic headlights with automatic high beams. Why that just can't default to that, and you got to do that every single time you get in the car, I don't know. I live in a dark street that I use my high beams every time I drive at night because there's no road lights. It just seems like that should be an automatic thing, and if you don't want to automatically come on, you can switch that somewhere, but why I have to turn that on every single time, it doesn't make any sense to me. Now, number 6 is, particularly with this interior color, is this white leather on the steering wheel. Now, this is a touch point. this is gonna get filthy. This is gonna look terrible within, like, actually, this car only has 1,000 miles. I can actually see some little marks here already starting. This is no good. Why would you put white on a pointer of the car that you touch constantly with your hands? You know, you go out about, you have dirt, you're wearing gloves, they could have dirt on them in the winter. Yeah, I think this is a dumb move. This should just all should be black. It's very pretty, don't get me wrong, but a white on a steering wheel, on the part that you touch especially, just makes no sense. Now, number 7, I said that I liked the sound of this car at full throttle. However, at partial throttle around town, the engine just sounds like a very stereotypical 4-cylinder. Just kind of like a grumble that, it reminds me actually of my wife's Tiguan. Just not pleasant. It just kind of makes a noise, and that's what it is. So now, number 8, and the last thing, is engine response. And I think this is partially because I'm spoiled by driving my EV, that when you press down the accelerator because you want to go, you want to pass, you want to get around something, whatever it may be, it takes about a full second for the transmission to downshift into the gear that it wants to go. When it does it really aggressively, and it goes into a really high or really low gear, and it really spins up the engine. But it takes like a full second of a delay, and I think there's even some cars that are automatics that can do a little bit better than that. But this one, it just seems like it takes a long time. There's a big delay, but then it goes. It's great, but it's kind of annoying that it takes that small amount of time. And again, it's probably because I've gotten used to my Chevy Bolt, where it's just absolutely instant and wonderful. But anyway, that's my my list of things that I like and don't like. So if you like this, go ahead and please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and thank you for watching.